now.
Can you just do a refresher? Do you mind doing a quick refresher?
Yes, I'll do a quick
Just what you're up to?
Of course. So we're on chapter 4. If you've got
Thank
the
you.
white book, it's page 1, 2, 3. And what we were discussing in the past couple of lessons was that what concerns you is determined by God, but you must take the initiative. And then we had a whole section on placing yourself in danger. And this wasn't necessarily just about the worst danger, but just that a very deep understanding that the body that we were given is not just an accessory to the neshama, it's actually the house for the neshama. And we have to be super careful with our health, with placing ourselves into a dangerous situation. And oh, here comes Chaya Sarah, very nice. Hi, Chaya Sarah, welcome. So we're just giving a little recap of the last chapter 4, page 1, 2, 3. So we were talking about placing yourself in danger and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu never asks us to put ourselves in danger. And how we see that is from the Torah, the chapter with Shmuel Hanavi, where he was asked to go down to the house of Yishai to anoint David as the king. And he said, no, I don't want to. It's too dangerous. Shaul might try to kill me. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, that's perfectly understandable. And so what you should do is pretend that you're bringing an offering. Whereas with Moshe Rabbeinu, he says something different. When Moshe Rabbeinu says, I can't go to Paro because I'm not good enough, then Hashem takes issue with him. He says, what do you mean you don't have enough speech? I will give you the speech. I will give you all the tools you need. When it comes to our spiritual tools, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us everything we need. When it comes to our bodies, we shouldn't be careless and put ourselves into harm's way. There's a very clear distinction Rabbi Bachya brings between putting ourselves into actual physical danger or feeling that we're not good enough for a situation. So if we have a fear of stepping forward and being called forward to do a mitzvah, and Hashem himself is calling us forward in that moment, that we can feel it, then we should always know not to be afraid that we're not good enough or that we won't have the right tools, because it might be true we don't have the right tools, but knowing that if we step forward, the tools will come. Hashem will always provide them for us. I've seen a very nice Dvar Torah about this with Ashrei, with the tefillah of Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei V'techa we say 3 times a day. And there's every single line on it is following the Aleph Bet. I don't know if anybody on here notices there's one letter missing. Do you know what that is? Anyone? You can pop in the chat if you know, or you can unmute.
No.
Okay.
No, I remember this.
Nun in very good. So Nun in the Aleph Bet of Kabbalah, it symbolizes Nafel, Nafila, falling. And what Hashem is trying to tell us is that we can never be falling. And interesting, I always relate things back to quantum science because I love the whole idea of quantum science. Really corroborates everything in Torah, that there's no such thing as time or space, really. Everything is relative. What is time? It's relative to how the planets move. But if you're on that planet, it moves differently compared to another planet. So we're all, relatively speaking, there is no time, there is no space. So how could you ever be falling? And then the next letter, Samach symbolizes Somech, which is support. And if you read the line, it says, Somech Hashem l'chol hanoflim. Hashem already has the support in you. If you think you're falling, don't worry, Hashem has got you. So it's like Hashem precedes the refuah to the makkah. Hashem always gives us any tools we need, that we should never worry that, how am I going to do this thing? I'm not able to face a certain situation. Every situation that you face is min Hashemayim. It's from Hashem, everything. So whichever situation you're in, know without a shadow of doubt, the tools are in there, and you just need to ask Hashem to help you access those tools. So anything that's between you and the tools is only our lack of emunah. We'll continue. The partnership with you and God. So this is a new chapter, and it's within chapter 4, it's a new section. So is there any questions on that one before we move forward? Very good. So we'll move on. Having finished elaborating on the principle that a person must make all efforts to the natural order to preserve his life, the author continues to apply this principle to other matters as well. So just as we've said regarding life and death, so just as we've said that a person is obligated to take steps to preserve his life and avoid the dangerous and the deadly, so too we will say regarding a person's obligation to actively pursue means to remain healthy. So there's always the not, the lo tase and the ase. When we were in Shamayim, Anashah was told two instructions. We were told right at the beginning of this sefer. We were told two instructions when we were not born yet. One is be a tzaddik, and do you remember the other one, Ilana? Is don't be a rasha. So it's the basic premise that we're called. We have two forces according us: the forces of good and the forces of dark, the forces of light, the forces of dark, the forces of good, the forces of evil. And Hashem always says, "B'chartem b'tov." So we've done a little bit about avoiding the bad, not putting ourselves in danger. Is that good enough? No, because naturally, if we just go along in our lives, just plodding along without thinking about anything, we will naturally get sucked down because the negative forces are strong in this world, like the forces of gravity, always pulling us down. Our mind has a negative bias. Our spiritual, we're surrounded by negativity, social media, everything is pulling us. So we have to actively maintain. So the same with our body. Our body has a natural tendency to entropy, to, how do you call it, to get unhealthy. If we don't use it, we lose it. So there's an active commandment to pursue means to remain healthy. So how we obtain food, how we have clothing, shelter, positive character traits. Interesting that Rabbi Bachya categorizes a personal character trait as to do with physical health. Because when we're in a good mood, it creates good hormones in us, oxytocin and dopamine, and we exercise, it's good for our health. So it's interesting, before Western medicine has come to terms with the fact that our mind and our body are not separate, they're actually interlinked. Rabbi Bachya clocked onto this many, many years ago, 1,000 years ago. Habriot, health, mazon, the food, hamalbush, our clothing, hadira, our dwelling, hamidot, our character traits, midot hatovot, olaharchik shebenegdon, and to distance ourselves from anything that is in the way of these things. In berur emunato, these efforts are necessary. Ki hasibot ein moilot oto v'zer klum echad ela v'gezerat borei yisbarach. So these efforts are necessary from us to do, despite a person's strong conviction that the means themselves are not really doing the thing. Were it not for the Creator, that wouldn't happen. Like, we wouldn't have our health without Hashem. But Hashem has designated us co-creators in our own health, and we have to do our part. So we can't abdicate our responsibility and say, well, I'll just sit back on the sofa, Hashem will make me healthy. No, we have to make an effort to choose things that are good for us. Just like a landowner has to plow the land, and to clean it, from thorns, to sow it with seeds, to keep watering it, if he has water available to him. And then he trusts his Creator to grow, to bring forth the produce, and to protect it from disasters, that there shouldn't be a plague of locust or whatever, and that its produce should be plentiful. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bless his endeavors. It's not enough for him to just sit there and say, to forsake the land without working or sowing on it, or zriya, or sowing it, just because he's trusting in Hashem, that miraculously the ground will blossom forth without sowing the seeds, right? So it makes sense. And the Rabbi Bachya is using an analogy that's very familiar to him. He was in an era where agriculture was very closely linked to most societies. Even if you weren't a farmer, you'd be a landowner, and the agriculture would come in its season, and there weren't supermarkets to go to get things from far away. So you really relied on the land in a way that we don't now. But in the same way that you could look on it as asset management or an investment, all these things are still applicable today. They might be talking about agriculture then, but the principles of this bitachon still as applicable today as they were. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's look at the commentaries on this. Oh, lovely. We have Rosie joining us. Beautiful. Hi, Rosie. I love to see your picture of the Beit HaMikdash. Lifts my day. So we were just talking about the necessity for us. We have a partnership with us and Hashem, and the necessity with us to make an effort, even though we trust that Hashem ultimately is in charge of the outcome. We are a part of the process, and we have to make an effort to stay healthy, to eat the right food, to wear the right clothing, to seek the right shelter, and to develop our positive character traits. Okay, so the study of Hasidic philosophy is intended to make the person's qualities and attributes godly to the point where his qualities are not merely expression of his nature and where he serves God in a manner that suits his personality, rather that all of his qualities are going to be transformed into conduits of the divine. So it's not, when you practice Hasidic philosophy, like this is to an extent, philosophy of Hasidus is understanding to a deep level what's behind the Torah and the meaning of it and the feeling of it, then it's not just about, oh, this particular character trait will be good for me so that then I'll earn a good income, then Hashem will bless me. Rather, they'll become ingrained in a person's personality so much so that his whole conducting of his daily life will be in the service of Hashem. Then it says, while other nations try to rationalize a miracle by seeking a natural reason for every occurrence, even the miraculous, the Jewish people find miracles in nature. And it's in this light that the sages taught that when a Jew sows his field, he does so with trust in God. This teaching needs to be understood. Why is trust needed when we're speaking about natural phenomenon? The answer is that nature is not enough to explain the course of the world. And the Jew knows that, in essence, the whole of the natural order is nothing but a constant daily miracle that performs over and again. So the bottom line of this teaching is, I've actually got a poster in my kitchen that says there are two ways to go about life, to see that you could either think that there's nothing as a miracle, or you could think that everything is a miracle. I don't think that's what it says. Maybe it says something more smart than that. Well, anyway, the bottom line here is that don't naturalize a miracle, find the miracle in nature. I think right at the beginning of this book of Shara Bitachon, it explained about the way that seeds are formed. And yes, we can understand the way that the chemical processes of a plant are, that the sunlight converts energy into cells, and that they grow bigger and that they form photosynthesis. But in essence, we still don't understand the energy of how something lives and dies and how it grows. And science hasn't uncovered the miracle of life yet, as we know it. And as Jews, we believe that underneath everything that's natural is a massive miracle. So we thank Hashem every day. Chadashim labkarim, new in the morning, Rabba Manutecha. Hashem is faithful to his work. So every day is a new day, and every day is a miracle. I'm going to leave it there because in 3 minutes we're hopping on to Nishmat. But if anybody's got any questions or wants to contribute to the conversation, I'm happy to hear from you.
Isn't Nishmat in 15 minutes?
Is it not? Is it in 15?
I believe it's 8 my time, so right now it's.
It says in 30 minutes. No, it's in 2 minutes, Nishmat.
Did they change the time?
No, it's always that. It's always now. It's always at 1 o'clock UK time. I'm stopping the recording now.